We're going to talk about parallel lines first. All right, so parallel lines. What, you should know this because you have a vocabulary quiz. What is the definition of parallel lines? Lines that what?
That do not.
Thank you. Lines that do not intersect.
That's it.
Lines that do not intersect. Does anybody know the notation for parallel lines? What's the symbol? There's a symbol for parallel lines.
Two straight lines.
Yeah, the two little lines. Like that. Okay, so when we're looking at parallel lines, what should you think of in terms of their slope? Their slope. The value of their slopes. Equal. Slope is equal. So same slope. So if I say parallel lines, you better say same slope. For example, in number 4. Is number 4 a parallel line? Are these two lines parallel?
Yep.
I heard one no, very deep voice, and the rest yeses. Yes, right? Because what's the slope here? Just 2. What's the slope here? 2. So they are parallel. I can't spell parallel, so whenever you see anything I write, I'm going to put the little symbol. It's very confusing, that word. I still won't spell it right, I swear. Okay, how about example 5? Are those parallel? IDK. What's the slope?
2/5.
2 over 5. What's the slope? Are they the same? No, they're not parallel. Uh-oh. What about number 6? What's the problem with this? What's the problem? It's not in y equals form. Okay? So we have to change it to y equals form. I know that you're not going to like that, but you don't have a choice. Okay? You have to change it to y equals form. So everybody, can we practice changing that into y equals form? Because I subtracted 2x from both sides, so that 2 needs to say negative. Okay? Remember, we're doing opposite operation. All right, what's the next step here?
Divide
Divide by negative 4. First one. The way I went from this step, negative 2x over negative 4, 2 over 4 simplifies to 1 over 2, negative, negative is going to make it positive. Okay? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because this is the algebra piece you should already know. If you don't know how to do this or you're confused by these steps, you should definitely write these down because on the test, there's going to be one like this. You're going to have to tell me whether it's parallel or perpendicular, and you are going to have to solve for y. I'm not going to make it easy because I like to torture you. Okay, so now we have these two new equations written in pretty y equals mx plus b form. Are these parallel? Yes, they are. Because slope here is 1/2, slope here is 1/2. They are parallel. Okay? Everybody good? Now we need to write equations of parallel lines. Okay, so what I handed you, well, you weren't looking. Okay, write an equation of a line that is parallel to y equals 2x plus 6 and goes through 1 comma 5. Okay? We're going to take the slope. The first step is to identify the slope. Okay? What is the slope? 2. 2. Okay? You can either write on your paper or you can write on the sleeve if you want to write on the sleeve. It's completely up to you. The same problem as example 7 on the paper, whatever you feel more comfortable with. This is just another way, and this is kind of fun to write on this. Okay, so the next thing is to determine the value of the new slope. If these are parallel lines, what is the new slope going to be if they're parallel? 2, right? Same slope, it's parallel. That. All right, so the next thing is to solve for b. Just like when we were writing an equation of a line, we had to solve for b. Okay, so I've got my box of knowledge here to solve for b. I need m. Well, what did we say m was? 2. Now this time we don't have to pick a point because there's only one point that was given to us. Okay, so what is x? 1. What's y? Does everybody see where we got that 1 and the 5? The point it goes through is 1, comma 5. That's my x value. That's my y value. Okay? Now I need to solve for b. So I'm going to use y equals mx plus b to solve for b. But I'm going to use my box of knowledge to help me. 5 equals 2 times 1 plus b. Because b is what I'm solving for. Now we're going to simplify. 2 times 1 is 2. And how do I get b by itself? No, not divide. Subtract the 2. So b equals 3. Now, remember what we talked about at the beginning of class with those x and y values, and there's infinite number of x and y values on that line? So when we're writing an equation of a line, we no longer use values for x and y. We leave them as variables. Okay? So my end result is going to be y equals my slope, x, whatever my value I just solved for b. Ta-da! Okay, now, if you use this, you might want to copy your work down under problem 7, which we just did, and I want you to try example 8. Okay, it's the same steps. So if you want to read through here in this step action table and read through the steps, do the exact same thing. Okay? If you're confused or lost, got this, but I hear someone saying something that I want to make clear. Okay? First of all, you should have gotten y equals 3 over 4x plus 12. Okay? The question was asked, well, what about this 6? What happened to that 6? Okay? Remember, these are two different equations. I no longer need that 6 there. Okay? Actually, that 6 really is kind of irrelevant information. But it needs to be an equation of a line, so I do need the b. So that's why we write it like this. This is the equation of a line. Well, this is a completely new line, okay? So that's why we don't involve the 6 anymore. The 6 is not involved here, okay? All right, let's see. All right, you can do 1 and 2 on your own. Let's go to the next page, which is going to be, and about perpendicular lines is just some vocabulary about numbers in general. All right, let's talk about what an opposite number is. If I have 2, what's the opposite of 2? Negative 2. What's the opposite of negative 3? Positive 3, okay? So opposite just means to change the sign, okay? That's all opposite means. Now how about reciprocal? What's the reciprocal of 1/2?
2 over 1.
2 over 1. Or 2. What's the reciprocal of 3? 1 over 3. What's the reciprocal of 2/3? 3 over 2. Okay, so you're just flipping the fraction, right? That's what reciprocal means. Now, for perpendicular lines, we're going to talk about something called opposite reciprocal. Okay? So if I tell you the slope is 2, I want the opposite reciprocal of 2. What's the opposite reciprocal of 2?
Negative 1/2.
-1/2. You need to perform both. You need opposite sign and you need the reciprocal. Okay? What about -2/3? What's the opposite of -2/3? +3 over 2. Very good. What is the opposite reciprocal of -1?
Just 1.
+1 over 1, which is just 1. Okay? Okay, so when we think perpendicular lines, well, first of all, what's the definition of a perpendicular line? Let's start there. What's the definition of a perpendicular line? You have a vocabulary test quiz in 20 minutes. You better know this. What is the definition of a perpendicular line? Lines that intersect at where? Lines that intersect. There you go. And intersect to form right angles. Okay, they intersect to form right angles. What's the notation? What's the symbol? A what?
Nothing.
The T, the upside down T looking thing. You need to know that. Okay, in terms of slope, we thought for parallel, we thought same slope. What should we think for perpendicular? Opposite what? Opposite reciprocal. Opposite reciprocal. Okay, number 9. Boris, can you put your phone away, please? Okay, number 9. Remember, we want to know if it's perpendicular. I'm going to look at the slope. The slope of this one's 2. The slope of this one's -1/2. Are they perpendicular? Yes, because they're opposite reciprocals. So yes, they are perpendicular. What about number 10? No, why not? Right, they didn't, it's the reciprocal, but the sign didn't change. So this one's no. And what about example 11?
You gotta change it.
Yeah, you need to change the second equation to what? Y equals mx plus b form. Lines, okay? So first thing is to identify the slope, okay? What's the slope of this line?
2x.
2. Just 2. Stop saying 2x. Okay? Slope is 2. Now I need a new slope. We're talking about perpendicular lines now. What is the new slope? -1/2. You just told me opposite reciprocal, right? That's what we're thinking because we're thinking perpendicular line. Now we need our box of knowledge again. I'm always going to use my new slope in this box of knowledge. What's my new slope? Thank you. Where does my x and y going to come from? 1 and 5.